Hi, I'm Marla. My family erased me from my sister's $78,000 lakefront engagement, then called it true loyalty. They smiled for photos. While I was cropped out, they toasted to real support after turning my own room into a gym for Carla's fiancé. Why would a family go to such lengths to delete someone still breathing? Before we dive in, have you ever been shut out by people who were supposed to love you? What time are you listening to this and where are you watching from? Drop a comment. I'd really love to hear from you. The lake house shimmered under soft lantern lights, all curated perfection and glossy joy. I parked in a far corner of the gravel loop, far enough not to draw eyes, but close enough to see the windows flicker with laughter. My breath fogged up the windshield as I sat there, frozen in hesitation. The celebration wasn't just about my sister's engagement, it was a declaration of who belonged, and I already knew. I stepped out, heels crunching the gravel, dress clinging to me like borrowed confidence. A few heads turned, none lingered. Carla greeted me near the bar with a quick, practiced smile. She hugged me with one arm, then glanced over her shoulder. "Glad you made it," she said, already moving. "Drinks are over there." No introductions. No one waved me toward the patio where the photographer was setting up. I stood unsure, while couples and cousins formed neat little orbits around me, laughing in matching tones. My presence created a ripple, then quieted like a skipped stone swallowed by a lake. Later, they began assembling for the group photo. Carla, her fiancé, our parents, Brent, even distant cousins I hadn't seen in years. I walked slowly toward the group, brushing my hair behind my ear, forcing a neutral smile. No one moved to make space. Then Carla turned slightly, resting her hand on Brian's chest, and with her chin tilted just so, she called to the photographer, "Okay, this is everyone." My mouth opened, but nothing came out. I felt the air suck out of the space around me. The photographer's finger tapped the shutter. I heard it click, and then again. I took a slow step back. No one noticed. I didn't eat much that night. I drifted, nodded, smiled politely. There was too much gold, too many candles, too many curated moments that were never meant to include me. When I returned to the guest room I wasn't supposed to stay in, just a couch, no sheets, I found an email blinking on my phone. No subject, just a screenshot from someone labeled Event Staff 0409. It was a chat thread. "Mom, please ensure Marla isn't included in group shots." Carla, "She doesn't represent what today is about. Keep her out of the frame." Mom again, "We'll thank you generously." My stomach twisted, not because I hadn't known, but because now I saw it in writing, cold, transactional, like I was a defective ornament pulled from the set. I didn't cry, I saved the screenshot. I turned off the lamp and sat staring into the dark window, my reflection barely visible in the glass, just enough to see my own eyes looking back, colder than before. Outside, the music pulsed like a distant heartbeat. Inside me, something sharper was forming. When the night broke and the last of the guests filtered into their rooms, I walked quietly to my car. The gravel crunched beneath my heels like tiny bones. I looked once more at the lake house glowing behind me, then flipped open my compact mirror. "They want me invisible?" I snapped it shut. Let them try. The front door creaked just slightly as I stepped in. It used to be louder, used to groan like an old man protesting. Now it sighed, delicate and sanitized. The entryway smelled like eucalyptus and expensive wax, Carla's idea of elegance. She greeted me with a distracted glance from the kitchen island, mug in hand, voice light. "Hey, you're in the guest room upstairs. We cleared a space." Cleared a space. That phrasing lodged somewhere beneath my ribs. I stood in the foyer longer than I meant to, watching the sleek furniture, the blank white walls where our childhood photos used to hang. Brent's fiancé's yoga mat was drying beside the coat rack, her initials embroidered. I hadn't meant to eavesdrop. Brent's fiancé was on the phone, her voice ricocheting off the walls of the hallway as I passed. "Investors loved the vision yield pitch. Brent's vision is just next level." I froze. The name shot through me like ice. I waited until she shut the door, then slipped into the den and searched. It didn't take long. Vision Yield had a glossy site, an aggressive mission statement, and pitch lines that tugged at something too familiar. Each paragraph read like a ghost, because they were mine. Word for word, line for line. 3 years ago, I'd built a deck for a sustainable data platform. Now it had a new name and Brent's smug face beside it. I ran upstairs, ignoring the throb in my temples, and yanked my laptop from my bag. Every file felt like a ticking bomb. I found the original deck buried in an old folder labeled Pulse Draft Final _03. When I opened the metadata, my heart jammed. Last opened by Brent Taylor. But that wasn't what gutted me. In the shared permissions, one other name, Mom. The screen blurred. My throat closed around a scream I couldn't release. I navigated further, pulling up the activity history. There it was, an email chain from her to Brent. She won't use this, it read. Might as well go to someone who will. Use it if you can. Silence crushed me. I sat there, fingers frozen above the keyboard, scrolling back, forward, rereading that line as if it might change. It didn't. I remembered a dinner just last fall. Mom had leaned across the table, swirling wine, telling Brent, "You've got great instincts, honey. Some people have big ideas but no follow-through." I'd thought it was a dig at Carla. It wasn't. I shut the laptop. The room tilted. My chest tightened, not from shock anymore, but calculation. Who else knew? Carla? My father? Had this been a casual betrayal, or a group decision sealed over wine and mutual disdain? My mind rewound years of conversations, moments I'd dismissed. Brent's really doing something with his life. You're too in your head, Marla. Not everything is about you. Maybe it had always been about removing me, efficiently, painlessly. I didn't sleep. The house was still, its walls now hostile. I crept downstairs at 4 a.m., walking barefoot through the kitchen, out the back door, into the darkness that cloaked the lake. The water looked thick and endless. Somewhere, a frog croaked like a warning. I didn't flinch. I stood there and said it out loud, to no one, to everything. I always knew I was the outsider. I just didn't realize I was the disposable one. Then I opened my encrypted email app, attached my original pitch, and typed one name into the recipient field. Rachel Hartwell, IP attorney. Subject line, urgent. Vision Yield theft. Immediate action required. Send. The buzzing woke me before the sun did. My phone was pulsing with notifications. Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn. One name kept appearing, Carla. One title, True Loyalty. I opened it. The photo was so polished it looked like an ad. Carla in her white engagement gown, Brent smug beside her, our parents smiling wide. Captioned, "True loyalty isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, who supports, who stands beside you even when it's hard. Grateful for those who really matter." I wasn't in the picture, not in the caption, not even in the tags. I was the shadow they framed themselves against. I scrolled through the comments, heart emojis, prayers, glittering congratulations from old neighbors, childhood teachers, family friends. But underneath their cheeriness was something slick, coded in implication. A beautiful family. Loyalty always shines through. Some people only take, the real ones stay. Then Carla replied to one, "Some lessons are hard, but we learn who truly belongs." Always. I stared at the screen. My mouth went dry. I tapped back to the photo, zooming in. There was Mom, holding Carla's hand. Her diamond bracelet, the one I thought was passed down to me, glittered in the shot. Brent's hand rested on my father's shoulder like he owned him. It wasn't just exclusion, it was a campaign. Later that afternoon, I got a message from someone I hadn't spoken to since college. "Hey Marla, just saw that engagement post. Sorry to say I'm not shocked. Your mom told us at the alumni reunion you'd been, dealing with mental stuff. Said you needed distance from everyone." I thought that was low. "You okay?" My fingers tightened around my phone. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the beige carpet, replaying the years. Networking events I was left out of. Friends who went silent. Subtle, strange rejections I'd brushed off. It hadn't started last week. It had been happening under my nose for years. They weren't just erasing me now. They'd been laying the groundwork, one whisper at a time. I remembered a dinner party, 16 years ago. "Marla's intense," Mom had said, laughing lightly when I left the room. "But we love her. We just give her space when she spirals." Back then, I thought she meant it kindly. I opened my phone and looked at a post from last month, one where I'd quietly celebrated my consultancy hitting its 5th profitable year. 0 likes from family, no comments. I flipped to my saved drafts, emails I'd never sent, apologies I'd written for breathing too loudly, the peace I'd tried to keep, it was already dead. I launched a journaling app I hadn't used in years, created a new folder, labeled it, "They Rewrote Me." First upload, the screenshot of true loyalty. Second, the alumni message. Third, Mom's comment on Brent's Vision Yield trademark launch. My finger hovered, then tapped, save. They wanted a version of me to hate. I'd show them the one that was real. The morning fog still clung to the Vineyard Hills when I arrived for the brunch. Carla's new venue sparkled with curated charm, soft jazz floating through the vines, flutes of Prosecco catching the light like promises. "Everyone, this is my sister Marla," Carla chirped, waving me over. "She's helping out with some of the event details. It's been good for her to stay busy." Laughter bubbled politely from the group. A woman in a linen wrap dress leaned in. "That's so kind of you, Carla. It must feel good to be useful again, huh?" I nodded, smiled, said nothing. But behind my eyes, something brittle shifted. Later, while refilling a pitcher of lemon water in the kitchen, I heard it. "She's not ready for a full comeback or anything," Carla was saying, voice sugar slick. "But little projects keep her occupied. Give her purpose." Another voice, Brent's, low and bored. "Right. Better than spiraling, I guess." I stood still. My hand trembled slightly as I set the pitcher down. 6 years ago, in therapy, I once said, "Sometimes I feel invisible in my own family." My therapist had nodded, gently. Carla had found that journal. She'd laughed. And now she was using it, weaponizing a moment of vulnerability like it was a party anecdote. Brent didn't defend me. He never did. That night, back at my hotel, I opened my email. Subject: "Quick favor from Carla Shipley Marla. Loved having you help this weekend. I've got another event next month and thought of you. Budget's tight, but happy to offer $75 per hour if you're free. Thought you'd appreciate the opportunity to build visibility again. Let me know. Thanks, Carla." My jaw clenched. My rate was $175. I'd mentored an intern last fall. Carla paid her $90. I scrolled back to another message from Carla 2 months ago. "We're all rooting for your comeback, Mar." As if I'd fallen, as if I'd begged to stand again. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I pulled out my planner, flipped through pages, scanning old notes. March, helped with Carla's launch, no payment. July, consultation, just for family. Thanksgiving, set up tables, no credit. I started a list. At the top, every time they said I should be grateful. Then I opened my email app, drafted a subject line, "Terms have changed." I didn't type anything else, just saved it. Back at the mirror, I smoothed down my blazer, eyes locked with my reflection. This time, I wasn't going to be graceful. I was going to be deliberate. I bookmarked the contact of a lawyer I'd met at a tech conference last spring, then hit record on a voicemail draft. "Hey, this is Marla Shipley. I have a question about intellectual property." I posted a photo at 9:12 a.m., a simple black and white shot of the Vineyard brunch from 2 days earlier. The caption read, "I was there too." Then I waited. By noon, nothing. Not even a heart from my cousin Nina, who usually reacts to my stories within minutes. I refreshed, twice. Still 0. I tried tagging Carla. The tag vanished. Brent? Same. When I left a short comment under one of Mom's posts. "Beautiful day, Unforgettable gathering. It disappeared the moment I hit refresh. A chill moved through me. I checked Carla's page directly. Unavailable. Same with Brent. And when I searched their profiles from my backup business account, every photo was still up, except I wasn't in any of them. Not even the brunch group shot where I sat right at the center. Cropping me out was no longer metaphorical. My stomach clenched as I stared at Brent's recap video. The reel played smooth transitions, light filters, joy on loop. I was in none of them. Even the frame where I'd stood next to the champagne tower had been zoomed in, conveniently omitting me like I never existed. I borrowed Chloe's phone, an old intern-turned-friend, and pulled up the same videos from her account. There I was, in the corners, half visible, cropped again and again like background clutter no one invited. The erasure wasn't just digital, it was surgical. That night, I called an old developer friend, Jordan. We met years ago on a joint project, and if anyone knew how to audit social signals, it was him. Shadowban, he said flatly, after an hour of analysis. You're being filtered. Anytime your name is tagged, it gets auto-hidden. AI mods flag it. It's subtle, but deliberate. How long? I asked. He exhaled. At least 4 months, maybe longer. 4 months. That predated the celebration. It lined up with when my Vision Yield post went dark, the one no one acknowledged, no matter how many people I personally emailed. I remembered thinking I'd worded it wrong. Too ambitious, maybe. Now I knew. It had never even reached them. I sat alone on my balcony, the wind brushing loose strands of hair across my face, and thought about how silence had been weaponized, the kind that doesn't scream, but starves. I deleted my earlier post, then scheduled a new one, a close-up of my hand holding a pen over a lined page. The caption: Visibility is a choice, but so is the silence you pretend not to hear. Next, I opened my site. The About section now read, Founder of the original Vision Yield trademark. No disclaimers, no qualifiers. I bookmarked 5 media contacts, then opened a blank folder titled Press Drafts. If they could erase me with clicks, I'd rewrite with keystrokes. A podcast logo flickered onto my desktop, a new folder, Episode 0, You Thought I Was Gone. The invitation came via email, no subject line, just the body text. Dinner. Sunday, let's be civil. Mom wants it. It was signed -C, like I'd forget who'd send something so sterile. The address was my childhood home, the same brick porch where I used to sit with my father, reading weathered novels while he oiled the deck boards. The same living room where I curled into the couch when I failed my first college exam. Now it smelled of citrus cleaner and politeness. Carla greeted me in beige linen, her voice syrupy. Brent stood behind her with that politician smile he wore around investors. Mom kissed the air beside my cheek. Frank stayed seated, elbows on the table, eyes fixed on his drink. Dinner was a staged play. Chatter about wine imports, Brent's app expansion, Carla's plans to refresh the family brand. No one asked me how I was. When I brought up the digital erasure, my absence from every photo, every post, Carla blinked slowly. You're spiraling again, she said. This is why people worry. I glanced at Frank, still silent. Brent shifted in his chair. We've all had to make decisions that protect the family's image. It's not personal. I laughed, loud and raw. Oh, I'm well aware it's not personal. It's policy. That's when Frank spoke. Just 3 words. You're right, all of it. The room froze. Carla's jaw tensed. Brent stared. Mom dropped her fork. But Frank didn't look at me. He went back to his drink like he hadn't just ripped the air from the room. No follow-up, no stand, just a whisper in a vacuum. Dinner ended in silence. No one hugged goodbye, no one lingered. I drove home with my nails digging crescents into my palms. That night, a text came through. I can't undo anything anymore. I'm sorry. From him, I typed. Then why didn't you speak up when it counted? No response. I believed you were different. Nothing. Don't bother next time. Read. Still silence. 16 years ago, I helped him sand the hull of our boat. My hands blistered, but I didn't complain. He told me then, a real man protects what's his. Tonight, he protected his peace. Not me. I deleted the thread, didn't save the messages, didn't screenshot. I didn't want ghosts haunting my phone. I drove for hours. The freeway shimmered under headlights, empty and long like the space between who I thought he was and who he'd just become. The podcast mic sat beside me on the passenger seat, cold, matte black, waiting. I pulled over at a gas station, turned the engine off, and stared into the reflection in the windshield. The last person I thought might still see me, just shut his eyes like the rest. I opened the glove compartment, plugged in the mic, adjusted the gain. No more waiting. If they all want silence, then it's time the world hears mine. The room was quiet, except for the faint hum of my laptop fan. My fingers hovered over the trackpad. Episode 1. Unmuted, What Family Silence Looks Like. Was ready, edited, mixed, proofed. I stared at the publish button like it might burn me. I'd recorded it in pieces, between deep breaths and half-slept nights. The intro alone had taken 3 tries, not because I didn't know what to say, but because this time there'd be no taking it back. No polite excuse, no soft exit, just truth. I clicked, then closed my eyes. 48 hours later, I couldn't keep up. DMs, emails, voice notes, tags, wave after wave from women across the country. A single mom in Kansas. They called me unstable too. A retired teacher from Maine. My sister said I made her friends uncomfortable. Thousands of them, each with a wound shaped like mine. The phrase, true loyalty, had become a meme. Podcasts cited me. TikTok accounts stitched my voice over montages of quiet exclusion. I watched as Carla and Brent issued a PR-style post, syrupy language about loving family despite misunderstandings. Comments shut off. Of course. Then came Emma. Episode 3 opened with her voice. I wasn't supposed to say this, but I'm done being polite. She spoke clearly, calm, like she'd rehearsed it in mirrors for years. I wanted Marla at my engagement party. I told my mom. She said no, said she'd ruin the vibe. I didn't speak during the recording. I let her finish. Your mom said you always make things about you, she added softly. But what I've seen is you just walk into rooms and people remember their shame. When I did finally respond, my voice came out measured. They never wanted the truth to ruin the version of me they sold. I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I just closed my laptop, sat back, and let the echo carry. 3 days later, the ripple reached places I hadn't anticipated. My inbox pinged with a message from a client I hadn't heard from in years. One who'd ghosted after Carla's visibility comment went viral. I want you back, it read. Triple your rate. You've earned that and more. Then came the magazine. Erased, then unmuted. A woman's voice against generational gaslighting. They sent a mock-up of the cover. My face, fierce and soft. I hesitated, until I read the letter tucked into the envelope. No return address, no name, just clean penmanship. It was never your fault. It was your light they feared. I knew who wrote it. He'd built me a bookshelf when I got into college. My mentor, the one Dad said I'd never last under, the one who told me brilliance never asks for permission. I sat with that for a while, then smiled. Not for the attention, but for the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. Just as I was about to shut my laptop for the night, one final ping lit up my screen. From unknown. Subject, let's talk. Brent. I didn't click. Not yet. Instead, I leaned back, crossed my arms, and breathed deep. The silence was mine now. The post wouldn't die. Months old and supposedly buried under corporate statements and photo dumps, true loyalty had clawed its way back into relevance. But this time the tone had changed. Someone stitched it with a clip from my first episode. My voice, unapologetically clear, rang over the smiling faces in that carefully staged photo. You don't erase the ones you're proud of. The comments were relentless. Oh, this aged well. Nothing says loyalty like strategic exclusion. Shout out to Marla for surviving this circus. Carla's candle collab dropped her. Brent deleted his LinkedIn. Even their mom's PTA group had gone suspiciously quiet. The balance had shifted. Not from vengeance, but truth told loudly enough it couldn't be talked over. That morning, I opened a folder I hadn't touched in years. Inside was a letter addressed to my mother. I'd written it during a sleepless night, before therapy, before healing, before I understood that silence could rot you from the inside. I recorded it into the final episode, not as a dagger, as a release. You taught me how to disappear, I said, reading my own words through a breath that trembled, then held. But I finally remembered how to be seen. Then I closed the letter. For good. Later, a DM slid into my inbox, from Carla. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was scared you'd outshine us. It sat there, blinking like a wound still trying to close. I typed a response, deleted it, then posted instead. Some things are better left unreplied, but never unhealed. The world didn't need my retaliation, just my refusal to shrink. A week passed. I stepped into a bookstore in Santa Fe, somewhere I'd gone to escape years ago. Now there was a poster in the front window. Unmuted, A Night of Stories and Healing, with Marla Shipley. Inside, the room was full. I'd rehearsed what to say 100 times, and forgot it all the moment I stepped on stage, so I just spoke, from where it still hurt. Afterward, a teenage girl waited by the signing table. She didn't ask for a selfie, just leaned in and whispered, "You helped me tell my mom what I couldn't say for years." I reached across the table and held her hand. "You did the hardest part. You started." As the crowd filed out, my phone buzzed. "Brent tagged you in a post. Some truths deserve to be heard, even if it's too late." I didn't smile, but I nodded, quietly. Maybe silence isn't the absence of sound. Maybe it's the space where new things begin. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Silence is not always peace, and being erased doesn't mean you don't matter. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is tell your story, even when your voice shakes. I used to believe that keeping quiet would keep the family intact. But the truth? Truth doesn't destroy families. Secrets do. So let me ask you, have you ever been made to feel small just to keep the peace? Have you stayed silent so others could stay comfortable? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And if this video resonated with you, drop a 1 below or let me know where you're watching from. If it didn't, that's okay too. Tell me why. Let's talk. If you found meaning in this, please hit subscribe. Your story matters. You deserve to be heard.